Right, so this is important in establishing that the ancient Egyptians used to be black people. The modern Egyptians are not black people, so we have to make that distinction. The ancient Egyptians. The people of Egypt were conquered and colonized by the people from Arabia, Arabs. And those people, they didn't just conquer Egypt, they conquered Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and they're still there. They rule North Africa. So that's the reason why the modern people of Egypt are black. Had this not happened, black people would still be in Egypt as the biggest population. You get it? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
And then once the Arabs conquered, in the year 639 AD, they built that to show that we now run this country. And they built it in the middle of an African temple as a way of making it clear, we now run things. Now, the total amount of kings in dynasty 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is 50 kings. And they ruled for a long period of time, 1,472 years. But can you see that they're Africans? So what did the Egyptians achieve when they were Africans? This is what the Egyptians achieved. They built that. Yes?
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. So this is what the Egyptians built. Now, most Egyptian art looks like this. And because most Egyptian art looks like this, and those colors don't look very African, this is why a lot of people are confused about whether or not the Egyptians were Africans. Does that make sense? Because these colors look too light to be African. Now, what's really going on here is a color scheme. Men in Egyptian art are usually shown the color red. Women in Egyptian art are usually shown the color yellow. It doesn't mean they really were red and yellow. Does that make sense? How do we know that it doesn't mean that? Here we've got someone shown as yellow and someone shown as turquoise. Because we know that turquoise people do not exist, that's why we know the colors are not real. Does that make sense? Because if the colors were real, we're going to have to explain turquoise people. Does that make sense? Yeah? This is the kind of art that Egyptologists love to show the black community. Here we see Pharaoh Tutankhamen, shown as red, beating up the people from Sudan, shown as black. And then what the Egyptologists will do is they will tell the black community, see these black people being beaten up? That's your people, that is. Does that make sense? And then the Egyptians are presented as some other race. Does that make sense? Do you see how this image becomes something that they can use as propaganda? Get it? Who did I say this was?
King Tut.
Who's that?
King Tut.
So how comes he's black here and red in the other picture? Yes?
Dilute.
Right, so this is the reason why you have to check whether the colors are supposed to be real or whether the colors are supposed to be symbolic. Does that make sense? And just to make sure that no one can't get away from this, there's his mummy. Now can you see that looks just like a modern Kenyan? That looks just like a modern Tanzanian, just like a modern Ugandan. Yes?
Okay.
We're feeling that. Right, this is West African art. This is from West Africa. And we see the people of Dahomey in West Africa shown as red, beating up the Yorubas who are shown as black. Does it mean then that the Dahomey people really were red? Is that what it means? No, these are color symbols. Here we see Sudanese art. This is not Egyptian art now. This is Sudanese art. Men are shown which color?
Yes.
Women are shown?
Yellow.
So again, this is proof that the red-yellow thing are color symbols. They are not real. And just to hammer home the point, European art. This is the art from ancient Greece. Men are shown. Women are shown. Does it mean then that ancient Greek men were black? Is that what it means? Well, they're painted black, aren't they? Can you see? Clearly, ancient Greek men were not black. These are simply color symbols. Are we understanding this? All right, now we're in the home straight now, coming to the close of this. There was a scholar called Stephen Howe, and he wrote a book called Afrocentrism, Mythical Pasts and Imagined Homes. Mythical, in other words, we're making it up. I debated him in 1999, and there's a video of it. And that video, I understand, has actually traveled as far as the United States. So there are people in the United States who saw it. Now, the fact that it was on video was a bit embarrassing because we destroyed him. Totally destroyed him, and it's on video. So it's not me saying I destroyed him. Just watch the video. It's called The Great Debate. The Great Debate. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
That was, I think he just disappeared after that, and that was that. Europeans have got the same DNA as Africans. The difference is that we have the widest spread, they have the narrowest spread. And that's why we know that their genes come from our genes. They know this too. They don't, it's not something they like to publicize too much, but they know this too. Europeans have been around for 20,000 years. And the earliest skeletons that are definitely Europeans come from southern France. Right? And then from there, they gradually spread out to become the people of Europe. Does that make sense? And essentially, they are the descendants of black albinos that existed during the Ice Age. Yeah? It's not controversial. I know in this country, people pretend, that's controversial, how dare you say that? That's just accepted science. That's just where it is. Yeah? All right, now where they fit in is their first civilization is about 700 BC, the ancient Greeks. 700 BC is the very end of Egyptian history. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a lot of people think that the Egyptians and the Greeks were around at the same time. No, Egypt was over, then we get Greece. So that's the beginnings of their history. Then from Greece they created the Roman civilization, which created the Roman Empire. And then when the Roman Empire collapsed, the Europeans went into their Dark Ages. And then when they came out of the Dark Ages, we then get the Renaissance period, 1492, people coming here. Does that make sense? So Europeans have been ruling the world since 1492. But before that, they had Greece and Rome, and before that, they were just not in history, full stop.